Welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of creating a long-term healing plan for yourself and why this is going to be the most effective way for you to get to where you want to be. I often get people who ask me, when is it going to be an easy journey for me? When am I going to be pain-free? How long is it going to take for me to heal this? When will I have completed my healing? Or when they start to uncover the deeper layers of trauma that are being held in their body, they'll sometimes react with, well, do I really have to do more healing? Or how many more sessions will I need? And it's really interesting because I can understand when you're in pain or when you're not feeling good, the natural inclination is to ask, when is this going to end? It's really human, it's really natural. But at the same time, when you recognize that healing is a growth journey, you're not going to be so focused on when it ends. Because that's like saying, when will I come to the end of my growth? When will I come to the end of my potential? When will I come to the end of my purpose? Before you've even started the journey, really. So it's really important, first of all, to recognize that healing is actually growth and change your mindset to configure it so that you can actually accept that your healing work is forming the foundations of your future. The second thing is, it's really common to, when you start the healing work and you start uncovering these deeper layers, to say, well, how many more sessions am I going to need? Do I really need to have more, like another X many months or weeks of work? And then there's this kind of conflict that arises up within you of, do I really have to do more? Now, this is really important because when you start talking that way to yourself internally, you're actually being very disempowering towards yourself. When your approach to healing work is, well, how much more of this do I need to do? When is this going to end? Do I really need to have 6 more sessions? When you know you haven't got a full resolution for what you've needed, when you're clearly still in pain, and you'll only ever find people saying this when they are in deep discomfort, pain, and not in a place of ease within their life or within their body. That's the only time you'll hear somebody ask this kind of, have this internal narrative and ask these kinds of questions. And it's really important to recognize that before you've started to go deep within yourself, you've accumulated a whole lifetime of belief systems, of experiences that have been really difficult, of emotional blocks that you haven't fully processed, of pain, of trauma in your body, of old injuries, of unresolved illnesses. And all of this has layered up inside you. And it's layered up not just inside your physical body and your emotional body, but it's layered up in your mind and neurologically as belief systems. And it's constellated in this identity. If you've experienced a lot of trauma in your life, in your early childhood, if your generational lines are holding a lot of pain and trauma, this is going to be even more relevant. When you find yourself in that position and you start to do deep healing work, it's really important that you give yourself the time and space in a long-term container to do it in. Because otherwise, you're not really allowing yourself to be held in a healing space for long enough for the deeper layers to come up to the surface and for you to really get the result that you're capable of. Because imagine you've got this huge boulder worth of experience that you haven't unwrapped. and you're giving yourself a tiny little pin needle head to push everything through, because you're only giving yourself a tiny space and a short amount of time, and you don't have space internally because you're carrying this huge weight. You don't have the space within you to be able to work that fast and that deep. You have to cultivate that spaciousness within you by healing and by emptying yourself of yourself. Then you can do healing work very fast. In a matter of moments, your awareness can resolve big and deep unconscious blocks in a matter of moments. But for a lot of people, this is not realistic yet. It's not to say it won't be. It will be if you keep healing. But generally speaking, cycles you'll find in your life, cycles physically, cycles emotionally, relationally, they're going on for many, many years. Now, the analogy that I'll offer you is, imagine, you guys know what a personal trainer is, a PT. We call them here in London, PT, personal trainer, fitness trainer. You would never get somebody who has spent a whole lifetime eating garbage, never moving their bodies, not taking care of their physical well-being, having no interest in fitness and health, and then having physical challenges, mobility challenges, or physical crises, which are leading to it being very difficult for them to even exercise and move, then going to a PT, a personal trainer, having 6 sessions and then saying, well, do I really need more? Because by the time you've started those 6 sessions, you know yourself, first of all. Of course you need more. You know that yourself. You can tell just by looking around at the other people in the gym and seeing what it's possible to look like, to feel like, how it's possible to build strength, how it's possible to improve flexibility, how it's possible to move. You can see that you're not at your potential, nowhere near, because you've had this whole lifetime of not working on yourself. And it takes time for your nervous system to activate to the degree where you can even, for example, lift heavier weights or even increase your flexibility without being in pain. That takes time. It's your nervous system that has to calibrate to these new levels. Now, you would never go to your personal trainer and be like, after 6 sessions, well, do I really need to have more? And your personal trainer will look at you and be like, well, of course, they'll probably put you on a 1-year plan if you've never done anything before, right? And you have a goal that you want to achieve. And that 1-year plan won't just be physical work. It won't just be going to the gym. It will be your diet. It will be your lifestyle. It will be your day-to-day choices. They will monitor your stress levels. They will also ask you about your sleep. You will have to do things in between each personal training session. So going to see a healer, in particular coming to see me, is really no different. If you've not done anything for your entire life to look after your mental well-being, your somatic health, to resolve your trauma that's built up over the years, if you've never done anything before, you need to open up your own willingness to embrace a long-term healing space if you really, really want to get sustained and transformational outcomes for yourself internally. If you really want to feel the way that you can feel, you need to let yourself have that space and that support on a long-term basis. Some people, they're only going to need a few months. Maybe some people are only going to need a few weeks. But you need to recognize that your nervous system hasn't learned perhaps even the basics of safety and self-regulation. And this is really common. This isn't something that we're taught as children. This isn't something that necessarily our parents did really well for us. And therefore, we're learning, and we've got all these other layers that are being held, and we're learning as adults. Now, learning takes time. And especially when it comes to learning at a nervous system level, it takes time because patterns have to repeat. Neurologically, patterns have to repeat before the pattern becomes instinctual. It's just like muscle memory. Muscle memory doesn't happen by doing something twice. Muscle memory happens by doing something every single day, repeatedly, and over the course of a number of months, you start to feel that instinctual, wow, I don't even have to think about it, and my body knows what to do. There's a now a reflex that's being built up within me. It doesn't take as much effort. It doesn't take as much mental processing. It's a natural movement for me to do that now. In the same way, your mind and your nervous system and your emotional body and your energetic body, you have to let yourself have that time and space to train like that and to decondition yourself so that you can rebuild your nervous system with patterns that are much more supportive and harmonious of the identity that you're now creating for yourself. And this is important. Teaching the nervous system safety, teaching and experiencing safety internally with your healer, your therapist, once a week is really, really powerful. But if the time in between is very triggering and volatile, and you've got all these external things that are going on in your life, that means your once a week session is actually getting diluted because you've got too much going on in your day-to-day life and you haven't harmonized your condition, your external conditions. It's going to take you even longer. Now, this is where you would have heard the term set and setting. Set and setting is often referred to in psychedelic medicine and plant medicine ceremonies as really the key, set and setting. And part of that is intention, but part of that is also because your environment needs to support your healing. Your environment needs to support the new patterns that you're learning in the healing space. Because otherwise, you will be immediately triggered the next day after your healing session and you will fall back onto your old coping mechanisms, whether that's emotional eating, whether that's numbing yourself, whether it's overworking, whether it's just shutting down emotionally, or maybe it's checking out and just becoming that floating ghost that doesn't feel anything. Maybe it's staying up all night because you've become nocturnal as your coping mechanism. There's all sorts of things that people can fall back onto and that you can fall back onto as old patterns of comfort and old familiar ways. And it takes time to break those patterns, but it's really, really important. If you think about you're investing in healing work, you're investing in a transformation, you need to make sure that you've supported yourself in other areas. Same analogy, if you're going to go and see a personal trainer, you're investing in, say, a 12-month program, and in between each session, if you really take care of your surrounding environment, you can get much more out of the sessions. If you stock your fridge up with really good, high-quality food, you start to, really focus on your diet and nutrition and your macronutrient balance. If you start to focus on your gut health, if you start to focus on your sleep cycle, you start to focus on your stress levels and really manage all of this stuff as a lifestyle whilst you're doing your personal training, you're going to get a much better outcome, not just out of each and every session, but when it comes to the end and whether you've reached your goal, you're going to be much more likely to have reached your goal. It's not to say it's going to be easy, but you're putting the odds in your favor. Now, this is no different from doing healing work. If you do healing work and you're investing in your transformation, but in between, you haven't sorted out the levels of stress that you're under at work. So you feel amazing in the healing session, and then immediately after the next day, you're getting wrapped up in the stress of work and stuff that you've not organized, or processes that you haven't built to manage the workflow that you have. Or maybe you have a relationship that's really triggering you, and it doesn't matter how much healing work you do, every time you face this person, you're immediately triggered into your old patterns. Now, what happens is that you're diluting the work that you're investing in. You're stocking up your fridge with crap. Put it that way. It's the equivalent of stocking up your fridge with crap. And then you feel bad one day and you come home and you're like, well, what's in the fridge? Oh, loads of crap for me to eat. Great. Well, I'll do that because that's all I've put in the fridge. So you don't have any other options now. Whereas if you start your training program, start your healing program with consideration for what all these other factors are that can potentially dilute or derail you, you're going to be much more focused, much more outcome orientated, much more aligned, much more intentional, and much more effective. And this is what your body needs, especially in the early stages of healing, and especially if you've never done any type of healing work before, or all you've ever done is talking therapy. So the reason why Womb Room is a 1-year program is because it's allowing you to actually build the patterns in your nervous system that you need to have a strong foundation for your future. And it takes time to decondition and recondition your body and your brain and your energy field. It takes time. You have to build the systems in your life. You have to build that level of awareness on all aspects of your life and embody it then, your new structures, in order to get from A to B. And this when you do it this way, this 12 months becomes so potent and so powerful. It's almost like there's nothing you can't do, because everything is harmonizing for your end goal to support you to get to where you want to be. And in Womb Room, I'm going to give you the support and the frameworks to actually build healing into your lifestyle, so that whatever happens in the future, you have a solid foundation to meet anything that comes your way. Because not only do you have the tools, but you have the nervous system depth and the external conditions. You have internal conditions and external conditions, and you have the support of a community, which means it becomes very hard for you to go massively astray or drop off the bandwagon completely and find yourself just totally lost, like maybe you once were. And that's why people say, I was totally lost. It's because internally and externally there's big mismatches between what they're doing. So harmonizing your internal and your external world and your internal and your external conditions is so important, not just for your healing work, but also for your spiritual expansion, the expansion of your consciousness. Because you will only expand to the extent that you feel safe, to the extent that the space is clear. If your internal space, you've got a lot of internal space because you do a lot of work for yourself internally, but externally, you haven't done the same level of work to clear the space, you will immediately be triggered by something external. And it can be something as mundane as having a sink full of washing, for example. Having a sink full of washing. Like for me, that was a big trigger. I did go through a phase of really, really loving washing up. And I got very, very philosophical about it. And I felt like every time I was washing up the sink, I was like purifying, and I was really doing my moving meditation, and washing the saucepans became like, swirling around in the void of womb. And I got really into like doing washing up twice a day, 3 times a day sometimes, because it was there, not like because I went out of my way to do it. And then I got to the point where I was like, actually, I've got way more important things to do than washing up 3 times a day. And this is now starting to impede on my space internally. Because now when I feel spacious, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I've got to go and do that washing up. And for those of you who've got maybe big families and who've got a lot of stress in your career, or maybe you've got a lot of responsibility, you will know what that feels like to be in a really good place, a really good space internally. But the minute you come out of it, you're going to have This is something that you're just going to have to do. You're going to have to think about. Now, this is a really basic analogy, but I'm trying to illustrate the point that externally, you will come up against this, and then you will have to shrink. You will have to contract back into your small self to go and do the dishes, or to go and do that mundane task that actually you could have optimized to create more space for yourself. So I decided it was impacting my spaciousness inside, and I bought a dishwasher. Some of you have heard me talk about my dishwasher. It's a pretty big deal for me. I come from a family where it's like, no, we don't use dishwashers. We wash everything by hand. Dishwasher is a waste of water. So I bought a really small, slimline, economic dishwasher to do my dishes for me. It's a game changer. I went a whole week and I didn't have to wash any dishes. In a whole week, I just loaded up the dishwasher. The amount of time I got back for myself, which meant I could do more for myself that I love to do, that expands me. And the space that gave me and the joy that gave me was like, wow, this is actually really powerful. Now, that's just one example. You're going to have your own examples, and it might be much bigger than knowing that you have to do the dishes. It might be knowing that you have to have a really difficult conversation with someone, or knowing that you have to end a relationship that's going to be difficult for you to end, or knowing that you have to go through something legal that you don't necessarily feel very well equipped to go through. The more space you can clear in your external life to make things still, the easier it's going to be for you internally, not just to heal, but also to expand. Because imagine when you blow up a balloon, it just slowly expands. If there was something in the way, it wouldn't expand in that particular direction. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about expansion. You will get stuck, or you will get blocked, or you will get suddenly stunted by something, and it doesn't have to be there. If you preempt and you clear the space, you can just gradually just keep expanding. You'll always come across something that's going to require your attention, but it won't be mundane things all the time. So that's a tip for you. So back to the point about setting a long-term healing space for yourself. It's very difficult to identify what these things are unless you're in a long-term healing space, because you've got used to them. You've got used to this stuff being in your daily life. You don't think twice about it. The only time you're going to come to question it is when you're given contrast. When you're given context and contrast, that's when you'll question, do I really need this? Do I really deserve this? Do I really need to live like this? And you're only going to get that when you allow yourself to be not just in a long-term space, but in a long-term space with other people, not just any people, but people who are actually doing the work themselves. And I'm talking about the actual work, not like intergalactic unicorn stuff, like the actual shadow work that optimizes their life, that is an embodiment of their true potential, that kind of work. So real trauma healing and expansive work in a group space, in a long-term container where you are being supported and given all the tools to get from A to B, whatever your A and B is. You decide what your endpoint looks like, and it's very difficult in that situation to not get the result you're looking for. It's much more difficult when you're popping along to healing sessions here and there with different people, and you don't really know what's working and what's not working. You don't really know what the root causes are. You haven't really committed to doing anything long-term for yourself. You haven't really committed or visualized what you're trying to create within yourself, who you're trying to create as a person, or what you're trying to deconstruct within yourself. You don't really have that clarity. You can only get that clarity when you're working long-term within yourself and when you see healing as a long-term goal. Back to the analogy of the personal trainer and going to see a personal trainer. If you've not done any healing work for your entire life and you say, well, I'm just going to pop along for 6 sessions. I'm just going to pop along for 6 sessions, see what I can do. And you go and you pop along and they agree. They agree to work with you. They say, okay, this is what you're going to experience. This is what you need to do. And this is how far you're going to get. You're going to get from here to here. You're not going to get from A to Z, but you're going to get from A to C. And you say, okay, I'm going to do that. And you go along for your sessions. And you realise, holy shit, this is hell. Your first session, you can barely breathe and you're about to be sick. The second session, you're just looking around and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is so much hard work. Why is my body not doing what I want it to do? The third session, you're like, okay, I know it's going to be hard work now. I'm already prepared. I already get a sense. I bought my sweatband. I bought my bottle of water, and I'm ready to work hard. And I know it's going to be painful, but you know what? I'm ready to do it. And maybe in between all of these sessions, 1, 2, and 3, you've actually experienced that, some tension and some pain after the sessions. That's because your nervous system is rewiring itself, right? Your body is now adapting to this new regime. And now you've only got 3 sessions left. You've only just started getting into it, and now you've got 3 sessions left. This is why it's so important. So what do you do for those 3 sessions? Okay, you go along, and before you know it, it's over, it's ended, and you've really only just scratched the surface. You've only just scratched the surface. Now you leave that personal trainer, you go back home, and you've got all these great intentions to do the work yourself. You're like, yeah, I've got an app on my phone. I'm going to wake up 7 o'clock in the morning before work. I'm going to do abs. I'm going to do legs, bums, and tums. Then I'm going to go and have a coffee, bulletproof coffee, and I'm going to go to work. And the truth of the matter is, the morning comes, the alarm goes off, it's 8 o'clock, the kids are crying, they want breakfast, and you've thrown out your entire intention, and now you're back in your day-to-day. And to be honest with you, this happens. It's called life. It's called your life. Your life will happen until you decide to really own it. Your life will own you. There is no 2 ways about it. Your life will own you until you get really disciplined and say, I am going to own my life and start living it. So, because you haven't built up the patterns, the habits, the discipline, the conviction, the experience, the muscle memory, the entrainment, you haven't built any of that up. So you've not been working in a long-term space to build up that repertoire of internal knowledge and capability that allows you to then seamlessly transition into your day-to-day life in a way that's harmonious. No, you have now got all these other hurdles that you haven't prepared for that need to be optimized. That's what happens if you pop along for 6 sessions when you clearly need more. You clearly need more. And you know it, but you either don't want to pay for it, or you don't like the pain that's involved and the discomfort that's involved, even though it's your own body's discomfort that you have created through your lifestyle, which is really similar if you think about healing work and the layers that we build up by holding trauma, the layers of distortion that we build up in life because we're building on a foundation of pain. It's really no different. We need to have that long-term container, that long-term powerful healing space and community to actually make fundamental life changes that support our growth, because it's our container, physical container of our life and our habits and our routine and our discipline and the structures that we build, not just energetically and not just conceptually through our knowledge, but in our day-to-days, these structures that actually then support us. They support us. It's no good only working in the metaphysical realms. And then it comes to the physical realm and you're like, oh, I have all of this spiritual knowledge. I have all of this, I know all this stuff, but you know what? I don't have enough money to pay my council tax. Or I don't actually even really know what to eat that's right for my body, and I'm always getting I've always got a problem, a physical problem with my body, because I've acquired knowledge in a certain area, but I haven't expanded my consciousness evenly and integrated my knowledge into my life. I haven't created structures that support me. I have all this knowledge, but I'm working in a job that keeps me small, doesn't make best use of my talents, doesn't make best use of my skills, because I haven't created a career structure that aligns with who I am. So you might be listening to this and thinking, how do I do that? How do I make that level of radical change and create that level of radical harmony across all these aspects of my life? My health, physical health, my emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, my career, my family, my finances, my creativity. How do I do that? Well, the truth is, you're not going to do it on your own, because if you were, you would have already done it. And the people that have done this have invested in getting the support from other people who know how to do it, right? So generally it will be support in a particular area, like business coaching or healing or life coaching or whatever it is, relationship, marriage counselling. So people tend to go and see separate people for each and every aspect and facet of their life. What I'm giving you is a container and a space that lets you do all of that in one space, because you need oversight of everything. You need oversight of your whole kingdom, of all of these areas, and you need to make sure that they all interweave and support each other. So I help you to do this in a way that is very, as you can see, it's very grounded, but it also requires you to go very deep. And it also requires you to expand your consciousness. It requires you to go very deep into unseen realms and dimensions that you have no access to on an ordinary basis. To get access to this, you need to be in a container that is of a frequency that lets you feel into these spaces with ease and without the resistance that you'd normally have. And you need a guide. You need somebody that can show you and help you to get to where you want to be and do it in a way that gives you results. This is what I'm giving you in Womb Room. If you want to join Womb Room, because now you're listening to this and thinking, I actually need to do that in my life, then visit my website, KIMIYAhealing.com, and get in touch. Have a look at the Womb Room page. Read about what people have experienced. Watch the videos. And you will decide yourself. You will know whether you're ready to give yourself this gift. It's a huge, huge gift, to be honest, to harmonize your life and to do it from the inside out and to do it in 1 year. This can take people decades, quite frankly, to establish this level of, I wouldn't even say proficiency, I would just say this level of peace and support in all aspects of their being that supports their growth and spiritual expansion, their true potential. To get the guidance to do that and to rapidly dissolve any blocks that are in your way, and to do it in a healing way, and in a way that's really, really fun as well at the same time, is quite frankly a priceless journey. So if you're listening to this and you want to get involved in Womb Room and you want to give yourself the gift, then my advice is to do it. Set your intention and you will see how everything will fall into place for you very, very quickly. This is a journey of life. Womb Room is really a journey of life. It's a chamber of unlimited potential that will really show you a contrast between how you think you need to live, what you think your limitations are, and actually what's really possible for you. And it's only when you get the contrast and when you get the context and you experience it firsthand that you start to believe that is possible for you, and you start to experience something different. And if all you ever experience is the life that you're leading now, with the restrictions and limitations and self-inflictions, unconsciously and consciously, if that's all you're willing to experience, then that's all you're going to experience. End of story, right? You've got to be willing to take yourself into a group space, into a long-term, powerful healing space, commit to getting the work done, and you will see where you'll end up. It will be absolutely beyond your wildest dreams. So reach out to me if you're interested to join. I'll welcome you with open arms, and it will be amazing to have you in the womb. And I will see you guys on the next one. I hope this podcast has been useful and has helped to inspire you, keep you on track. I've got lots more that you might be interested to listen to, such as how to overcome procrastination and fear states, how to activate deeper levels of creativity by connecting with your womb, how to create ritual within your daily life. So have a browse, there's loads more. And if you've got podcast suggestions, just send them through to me. I'm always happy to make a podcast if I know it's going to resonate with you. So lots of love, and I will see you on the next one.